everyone to stand. Let us pray. Father, we come this morning thanking you, Lord, for another day. We thank you for the blessings you've bestowed upon us as a people and a nation. Lord, we thank you for the privilege to serve. And we ask now, Lord, that you bless the proceedings of this meeting, that will be done in a manner that's acceptable in thy sight. We thank you and we praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Jack. How you doing? Good morning, Miss Hall. All right, we'll call our meeting to order on December 4th. First item on the agenda will be the approval of the minutes. You have your minutes before you in the package. Or are there any corrections? You have a few on page 1340. Under delegations unannounced, where it reads, Chairman Jordan stated that the board has a procedure in place to deal with any disruptions during the commissioners' meeting, not the meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
also on, it's on page 1346.
Okay.
Is, a minute. It's the, under the citizens' comments, the 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth line, it states that jails will be saved as required by the Historic Society. It's preservation, as required by the, isn't it preservation?
So, you mean the buildings, you've got the build line, build line, it should be buildings, is that?
Well, the jails will be saved as required, it says by the Historic Society. It's not the Historic Society that's requiring it, it's the Office of Historical Preservation.
State Historic Preservation Office. That's SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office.
Are there any others? There are some typos and spelled words in there that we need to take a look at. For example, there's a number, I'm just going to give you one or two. 1345 should be billings at the first paragraph. And 1344 under administrative reports, you should have the word has been working. Take a look at those.
There's also a typo on 345 under where Mrs. Lasker forgets should be our services currently provide.
All right, any other corrections? If not, we'll entertain a motion to accept the approval of the minutes for November 6th as modified.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we have the minutes for November 7th and the 11th. We have one correction on November 11th. Said the county manager was present, that county manager was not present on November 11th special meeting. Okay. All right, we entertain a motion to accept the minutes of November 7th and 11th as corrected.
So moved. Second.
All right, motion second, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Nay. Thank you. This is our first meeting of December. This is an organizational meeting. We've adjusted the agenda to add this election of a chair and a vice chair. So at this time, we're going to open the floor for nomination of chairman of the board for the coming year.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Henry Jordan as chairman for the coming year.
A second.
All right, it's been nominated that Henry Jordan was nominated as chair. Do we have any other names? We're going to close on the said name.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close on said name.
All right, it's been closed on the said name. All in favor of Henry Jordan being chairman for the upcoming year, as you know, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay. Next will be our vice chair for the upcoming year. We'll open for nomination of vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Mr. Jack Owens.
Second. There's a motion second. The nomination has been for Mr. Jack Owens. Are there any other names?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that it be closed.
All right. Motion has been closed and said one name. All in favor of Jack Owens becoming vice chair for the upcoming year, as you know, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
should we approve the minutes of November the 18th?
Okay. 18.
Are they in our packet?
I had it in mind.
It's on the website.
Website.
I saw the website. On the email, on the email, I should say.
Yeah, it's not in my packet.
November 18th minutes. We will probably table the approval of that until the next meeting. We'll have those in the package. Our next item on the agenda would be, there appears to be no other agenda adjustments. We'll have our delegations. The first delegation, citizens' comment, will be Ms. Esther Lassner.
To our board chair, other commissioners, our county manager, and the citizens of Gates County, good morning.
Good morning.
You have a report before you. The report that you have before you is to provide the Board of Commissioners with an overview of the work that the Gates Partners for Health has been involved in over the past 6 months. A second report will be provided in June 2014. We feel that it's a privilege to share with you the activities of our partnership, and we continue to thank you for your support. As you look at the front side of the what we have labeled the Commissioner's Report, we have community involvement that lists several things that we've been involved in, and then we also highlighted particulars. And I'll simply go through and give you the highlights. Gates County schools are now equipped with AEDs. It has taken us almost 3 years through the grant processes, but we have AEDs in each of our public schools. In the larger schools, we have 2. We were able to provide these AEDs through grants from the Vidant Roanoke Chowan Hospital Foundation and the Roanoke Electric Care Trust, so we thank them. Our farmers market has completed its 3rd season. We had our final day on November the 23rd, and I believe I saw one person from the board there on that day. And if you look on the back side, we are continuing to be involved in the Gates County Comprehensive Diabetes Plan. And our particular involvement is the launching of the Mission Gates Diabetes Support Group. You have also at your seat the Diabetes Support Group calendar for December and throughout 2014, the Diabetes Support Group calendar. We are very much involved in that. We've completed our Diabetes Day in November. We're also continuing our Cancer Support Group, and you have with you also a calendar for the Cancer Support Group meetings. Our Gates Partners for Health teams with CareShare Health Alliance. This team effort is going to help us to develop a 3-year strategic plan for the county relating to our community health assessment. Our community health assessment was unveiled in August, and from that unveiling, we have identified priorities, and those priorities are listed. The top 5 priorities are obesity, cancer, diabetes, mental health, substance abuse, and heart disease. We're also sharing with you that we have received grant awards, and they are listed from Albemarle Hospital Foundation, Community Transformation Grants, Oversee Healthcare Foundation, Roanoke Electric Care Trust, and the Vidant Roanoke Chowan Hospital Foundation. We completed our 7th year with the Family Fun and Fitness Day, so I hope that you will take an opportunity later to read the content of each of our headings. And again, we do appreciate all of your support for the Gates Partners for Health.
We thank you very much, and we thank you for what Gates Partners for Health is doing for Gates County.
And I also have copies here that I'll leave up here for the citizens of Gates County. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next will be Mr. Doug Lilly, Animal Control Board.
Good morning.
Morning.
Got several things I want to go over with you. We back and reviewed some of the recommendations that we had previously given in the meeting for the month of July. There was a recommendation number 3 that a code section in the county ordinance had been changed. We recommended a change to the definition of what an owner was. You don't have a copy of that in front of you now, I apologize. The only thing that we wanted to change on that was the time limit for how long someone had to actually have an animal under their control from 30 days to 72 hours. So recommendation 3, you'll see we would like to have a change to 72 hours. That's so that it complies with state law and various counties within this area who have an ordinance similar to that. Okay.
That's consistent with other counties.
Yes, sir, it is. We had a discussion at the last meeting about recommendation 12 when we talked about primary enclosures for animals and the size and the amount of animals that could be kept in these enclosures and so forth. When we called our last board meeting, unfortunately, we did not have a quorum to where we could actually make a recommendation for this. However, I did do some research on my own, and I came across a North Carolina statute which actually covers this. And I've given you guys a copy of that. So, because that law is already in effect, it's been in effect since April of 1984 actually, and was amended in January of 2005. My recommendation is that we just include this by precedent as our recommendation for enclosures. Now, I will make a note to you, this does not, under North Carolina law as it currently stands, include commercial breeders or people that keep animals for hunting. They are excluded from this. I don't know why, but they are. So that's our recommendation. Okay, the last thing that we have, are there any questions on that section?
There's no exclusions to those two.
It is under the General Administrative Statutes, Section 19, which is the Animal Cruelty Standards. If you go through and review that, I believe it's paragraph 35, which excludes those two groups.
That's in a separate statute.
Yes, it is.
Correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That's why I said I would recommend that the county attorney review this to make sure that we're in compliance with that. We certainly don't want to recommend anything that's less strict than what the state has already recommended. For the general public, I will just go over part of this with you. It says that any dog shall be provided a minimum square footage of floor space equal, now here's where it gets difficult, to the mathematical square of the sum of the length of the dog in inches. Now, if you're not a math person, let me explain that to you. You take the length of the dog from the tip of its nose to the bottom of its tail, add 6 inches to that. Let's say that comes out to 30 inches, okay? You square that, which means you multiply it times itself. So 30 times 30 is 900, and you divide it by 144 to get square feet, okay? So we're talking about approximately 8.5 square feet for a dog that size. And it goes up, the larger the animal is, naturally the bigger the size of the cage. That's just to explain that for the average person to understand. Excuse me, these things not to fall apart. So therefore, the question at the last meeting about how many animals you can have in there and so forth and so on, this actually covers that. So if you've got 2 dogs in there, then you've got to go by that space for each dog. Okay. The last thing that we have is a recommendation, and now here again, we did not have a quorum, so let me make sure that people understand that this is not a recommendation from the full board, but because under Robert's rules, the chairman of a committee can pass and recommend a recommendation if it is for the public good and welfare. Okay? So that's what we're doing this under. And that is a recommendation number 13. It covers exotic animals. I did some research online. Every county within a 50-mile radius of this area has this as part of their animal ordinance. We are the only county that does not have this. And that is a recommendation about exotic animals. And it reads, it shall be unlawful for any person or group of persons to own, harbor, sell, or possess any exotic animals as defined by this section within Gates County. Now, here's the definition. Exotic animals are defined as any mammal, bird, reptile, or fish that poses a potential danger to humans. An example would be large poisonous snakes, tigers, lions, crocodiles, coyotes, piranha fish, that type of thing. Small birds such as parakeets, canaries, cockatoos, parrots, livestock, and domestic dogs and cats are exempted. Now here's where I have to explain this to you guys and the public, because this is part of North Carolina law that we've incorporated. Any exotic animal owned, harbored, or possessed prior to the date of this ordinance that were purchased pursuant to having a North Carolina State Wildlife Commission or U.S. Fish and Wildlife permit as a condition of ownership shall be allowed. What this means is if you already have one of these types of animals, and when you purchased this animal, you had to get one of these two permits in order to own it, then you are grandfathered in. You do not have to get rid of these animals. These animals, but here's the condition. These animals must be registered with the Gates County Sheriff's Department within 30 days of this section going into effect. Now the reason why we're trying to get this is a recommendation from the Sheriff's Department, actually. When they respond to an emergency at someone's home, be it a police person, Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, or an EMT, they should know whether there's an animal in that house that could potentially be dangerous to them. And so we're asking that the board take this recommendation into effect and put it in as part of the ordinance for that reason. Do you have any comments, questions, anything on that?
I have one pertaining to this exotic animal.
Yes, Mr. Moore.
In your research, you said that surrounding counties within the radius that you stated have this in the ordinance.
Yes, they do.
Did you see anything as a general statute, state general statute?
There is, but it's not real clear.
Okay.
It's very vague. It doesn't even define what an exotic animal is. It just says,
So the reason I say
I guess they leave it up to the public to decide what that is.
the reason I want to be on record on that would be the grandfather part would be
Now, that is in the general statutes.
the grandfather part would be on our ordinance,
Yes, sir.
but any general statute that we haven't seen, that exists.
It doesn't apply to that.
Would take precedence over.
Right, right. This is not to, so that we don't put a hardship on people that already have these animals, and these animals are registered and are permitted. But as a matter of public safety for the people that we mentioned, we feel like that they should be notified if this animal was in that building. If they go in there to pick up somebody that's had a heart attack or whatever, they don't want to be running into a large boa constrictor, that type of thing. So this year. And if there's no other comments, then that's all.
All right.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Give this to Melissa.
Our next item, next person on the agenda was the County Extension Agent, Reba Green Hollick.
Good morning.
Morning.
Just wanted to provide you all with your invitation to our third annual holiday celebration for county employees, which will be December 19th from 12 to 2. And additional information will be coming out to all department heads and employees. And we would like for you to RSVP so we'll have an idea on the meal. Any questions?
All right.
What time was that, Rita?
12 to 2.
Thank you, Rita.
That's it.
Thank you very much. All right,
Mr. Jordan,
yes.
excuse me. I'm sorry. I just wanted to publicly commend the Sheriff's Department for the action that they took recently on confiscating the animals from that puppy mill in Gates County here, over by Sunbury. That was an action that took place as a result of a person reporting a complaint to the Sheriff's Department. And through their efforts with the United States Humane Society, we were able to do that. I would ask that the board also take into consideration a recommendation to the state legislature from our county that we pass this new ordinance, this new law that they're trying to get passed, which would require breeders to be inspected by state inspectors. That would prevent this type of thing from happening again. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bailey. All right, the next item on our agenda will be our auditor, Ryan Epley.
Morning.
Good morning.
Have a good morning so far. I'm at it. Come on. Turn it on. Yeah. So what I have this morning is just a basic PowerPoint with some general highlights of this year's audit. Just to kind of introduce myself, I'm Brian Epley, senior at Martin Starnes and Associates. I do know most of you, but not all of you from past meetings. This is my 5th year working on the audit for Gates County. I've worked with Sandy all of those years, with the other department heads, first year with John. So basically, kind of some top view things, some highlights, and I'll go through them, and then at the end, any discussions, any kind of questions or anything that the board may want to inquire further about, we can certainly discuss. First slide is just the highlights of the outcome of the audit. Unmodified opinion is different than what you've seen in previous years. There's new legislative language that the Government Accounting Standards Board, who is our oversight committee, issued GASB number 63 this year, which changed this language. In the past, it was unqualified. So now it's unmodified. Basically means A+. There's nothing that I found, nothing I encountered, nothing as far as staff or textual that would make me qualify my opinion or modify my opinion from anything other than good. I always like to point out the Walker staff never have any issues, getting information, getting data, getting subsidiary ledgers, trial balance of budgets, from department heads, whether it be even all the way to Jeff, for services, to the financial officer here. I like to point that out at Gates County, because that's certainly not the case everywhere, and hard work should be commended. So I certainly like to take time to do that. Here's a 2-year comparative for general fund revenues versus expenditures. Revenues are going to be in the burgundy, red, and expenditures are in the gold. 2013 expenditures roughly $75,000, $80,000 above revenues. This is not including transfers. So this is simply revenues versus expenditures. Here's just a descriptive definition type slide, to help the board better understand and kind of illustrate the fund balance classifications. If you were to look in your financials and you would say, what is our breakdown of fund balance? What do these definitions mean? They're broken into 5 categories. The first is non-spendable, basically self-explanatory. It's something that's not liquid. If it's a prepaid asset or if it's inventory, obviously you can't liquefy that. So that's what is classified as non-spendable. Restricted is going to be anything that's restricted by an external source, debt proceeds, grant dollars, anything that's legally restricted. Committed and assigned, basically the same thing. The difference is who can commit and who can assign. If it's committed, it takes board action. It can be done and undone via board action. Assigned, generally the manager or the finance staff has that ability. And once again, committed and assigned can be done and undone. So neither one are completely permanent. Unassigned is previously known as unreserved. It's essentially monies that are available for appropriation. So this is the total fund balance in the general fund, Gates County this year. This one is including transfer. So the first slide where it was 75,000 wasn't including. And then there's a transfer here for the total change in general fund balance that shows the annual transfer to the water fund. So roughly a $240,000 decrease in the current year. The measuring stick, if you will, that the local government commission, which is North Carolina's measuring board oversight committee, which is different than some states. Most states don't have that. There's the federal, which is the GAG that I refer to, and then the local government commission is our state legislation that oversight. And that's who has to approve the audits and set down standards. They measure financial health with available fund balance, which isn't shown on the face of the financials, but it is what they use to calculate when you hear fund balance percentage. That's a term that's thrown around. This is what they use. And to calculate that, you take your total fund balance, you less out any non-spendable, and you also less out stabilization by state statute, which is shown on the financials. And that's a long calculation that they provide us, a worksheet that we have to work our way through. Basically, it's receivables, anything that's tax receivable, accounts receivable, any kind of deferred inflows, which is a new term this year as well. But there are different things that go into that number. It's usually pretty consistent from year to year. They don't change that calculation. But if you take those 2 factors out, that's what they say is available fund balance, and they consider truly available for appropriation. They compare that number to an annual amount of expenditures in the general fund to come up with your fund balance percentage. Here's an illustration of Gates County's available fund balance, or fund balance for the last 2 years compared to 2012, 2013. This year ending was 2.6, down by $330,000 from the prior year. And here's that percentage. This is where your available fund balance is compared to an annual amount of expenditures in the general fund. The LGC's base mark percentage is 8%. That would be roughly a month. That was saying if you had no revenue streams, basically how long could we provide similar services without any revenue stream. And obviously Gates County is 28% in 2012, 24% in 2013. Here's an illustrative chart of the breakdown of the revenue sources and the revenue streams. The top three, roughly 95%. As expected, ad valorem taxes are the biggest part of the pie, 57%. Restricted and local option sales tax are the other two largest pieces. Our next three slides are going to break down comparative 2012-2013 for those top three revenue sources. And for the most part, everything was as budgeted, as expected, and remained pretty constant from the prior year. As you can see, property tax relatively flat. Restricted intergovernmental is going to be federal and state grants primarily. There's some other things in there, but for the most part, that's that federal and state grant dollars flow through. Sales tax, pretty consistent. So that's always a positive. It helps with budgeting and it's a typical sign of economic situation at times. Same type of chart here for the expenditures for the general fund. Public safety, human services, and education are the largest individual, and then inside the other expenditures, you have general government, economic physical development, health and rec, and your debt service. To give the same type of information here for those top three. Education, 2.7 last year, almost 2.8 this year, pretty consistent. Human services is up about $70,000, percentage-wise, a minimal change. And public safety, 1.63 last year, 1.67 this year, so relatively consistent like there as well. This slide is just going to give some basic highlights of the water fund. And some areas that Dr. pointed out. Cash is down a little bit, not a great deal, basically flat from the prior year. Unrestricted net position, there's a new term to point out, net assets. That's another category 63. Simpler terminology change, same thing. If there's clarity standards that they feel that helps the reader understand better. But unrestricted net position is good.
For your headings 13 and 12, are they reversed there?
Yeah,
Could be.
you said it was down, cash was down.
Oh, yeah.
It's up.
Yeah, you're right. Or maybe I was just reading it backwards. I would have to look at the financials. I'm not sure off the top of my head. Yeah, I guess I just did that backwards. Looking in 2013, I'm assuming the headings are correct. Cash is up a little bit. Unrestricted net position, that's going to be basically on the governmental side, the general fund side, the unassigned fund balance, what is available for appropriating. Charges for service up, just a little bit, generally marginal, and debt service is down, which you would expect as debt matures. Solid waste, same type of information. Charges for service down a little bit, operating expenditures up a little bit. I think all that was within budget guidelines and basically what management expected. Moving away from the PowerPoint, the local government commission has the report. We have not received approval. They received it almost 2 weeks ago, and I talked to them yesterday, and they were on reports that they received, late October, early November, so they're a little bit behind. There's a lot of changes, slowed down their processes for review. Typically, our office and internally our review processes are stringent enough that we very rarely ever see comments, so we wouldn't expect anything. However, if anything, if there are any terminology changes or anything like that, we would certainly would know. I would expect them to get to it maybe middle to end of next week and give approval at that point in time. And once we do, Sandy will receive an email, I'll receive an email. And again, if there's any changes, those will be reflected in the down copies, which will be printed just as soon as we get their list.
I would ask one question. We just got the report, haven't had a chance to
Right,
go through it.
right.
And I know we have an unmodified rating, which is very good.
Correct.
Probably the best yet. But were there any findings?
There was one. It's in the front of your report to compliance, or maybe they're in the back, I'm not sure how it's put in your packet. It's 2013-001, it's the only finding that was issued, and it basically says that the county finance office had to have, we assisted in the drafting of the financial statements, which is basically a generic finding. If you don't draft financial statements, and typically this is something that's done basically once a year, and it requires A, time, and B, some other qualification skills that aren't typically required as part of day-to-day operations. So anytime that we have to assist in the drafting of the financials and do anything outside of just audit scope, that's a finding that is issued.
And I believe that's for the last couple of years.
And it will be, unless unless at some point internally the financial statements are drafted and they're full gap, which is, in my experience, is very typical for those local governments.
So really, it's just a matter of clarification.
It is right.
Anyone else?
I had a comment that I just want to make about the percentage being 28% last year, 24% this year. Just to be on the record to say that is because we made the right decision to reduce some of our debt, which is where that decline came from, which we all agree was the right thing to do. And so anyway, that's nothing to be alarmed about.
Oh.
All right. No one else? We thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the time and opportunity to serve. If you have any questions, everyone in that department has my contact information, and you can certainly get in touch with them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda will be Mr. John Mendenhall, County Manager, Retirement and Recognition.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm pleased at this time of the year to recognize some of our longstanding civil servants that have passed or have gone off certain boards. So I'm going to go through these and ask their families to come up and receive these recognitions. The first one I have is for our recently deceased Commissioner John Hora. And I'd ask if his family is in the audience, if they would come up and receive this award, recognizing his years of service, and I'll read it for the benefit of the Board of County Commissioners and the public. This is presented to Johnny Hora in recognition of 3 years of dedicated service to Gates County from November 2010 to September 2013. He was a Board of County Commissioner. He was a Commissioner for the Ure District. He served admirably and well, and unfortunately passed away due to a tragic accident. So we want the family to have this in recognition of that dedicated service that was cut short, and to recognize him, and for y'all to keep this in memory of him.
I'm not a public speaker by any means, so of course I have my cheat sheet. I know my dad is looking down his phone right now. This will mean so much to him. He was very humble, and he was always looking out for the good of people and this community. He was proud of us. He was proud of everyone that had made accomplishments of the community, and we were proud of him as well. We have confirmation of how respected and how appreciated the people are of him and all that he has accomplished in his life and while being on the board. We have had overwhelming support from everyone, and we know that he's in peace. Thank you.
you very much.
The next individual that we'd like to recognize is Mrs. Sharon G. Harrell, recently deceased in the Office of Register of Deeds. I'd like for her family to please come up at this time. I'm going to read this for the board and for the people. Presented to Sharon G. Harrell in recognition of your service, 29 years of dedicated service to Gates County, December 1984 to October 2013, who recently passed as the Gates County Register of Deeds, which is an elected position as well. And she served for nearly 30 years in a proud and distinguished service. So I'd like to present this to the family on our behalf and for Mrs. Harrell for her hard work and dedication to the county. And want to say thank you very much.
As you may have guessed by now, I never come to anything like this with a speech, but this does mean a lot to me, it means a lot to the family. Sharon was very proud and honored to serve the citizens of Gates County, and for that, to the citizens of Gates County, I say thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
The next presentation I'd like to make is to Mrs. Rita Lane. If she's in the audience, I'd like for her to come forward. I don't believe she's here today, but for the benefit of the board and the public, I'm going to read to you what we have here commemorating her service. It's presented to Mrs. Rita Lane, Planning Board member, in recognition of your dedicated service to Gates County, 2007 to 2013. And then I have one last one from Mr. Lynn Hobbs, if Mr. Hobbs is in the audience. And this is presented to Lynn Hobbs, Planning Board member, in recognition of your dedicated service to Gates County, 2009 to 2013. On behalf of the board and the staff, we'd like to thank you for that dedicated service to the community, and thank you for your hard work on behalf of Gates County. So, thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the commissioners for giving me the opportunity to experience some local government in action, of being on this planning board. Sometimes we had to take votes that were not the way your heart and your common sense wanted to do because of ordinances, but you know that those things have to work through the proper channels. And thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, Lynn. All right. Want to move forward on our agenda. Next will be Jeff Merritt for our Social Services Department.
Citizens of Gates County, Board of Commissioners, County Manager, thank you for having me. I don't throw the microphone on, Steve. I wanted to go over our department's annual report. As you know, we have funding that comes from state, counties, and the federal government. This report's been presented to the DSS board, and in an effort for transparency, we would like to bring that before the Board of Commissioners, give a brief overview, allow you to ask any questions on your behalf. Just want to highlight a couple of things, starting on page 4 with our adult services, just highlighting some issues that we continue to see. One of the main ones that's very complex is financial exploitation of disabled or incompetent adults. Many times we see that done through family members or close friends that's been entrusted to care for their finances, and they're being exploited for their own for the caretaker's own personal gain. Some other issues that we see, insufficient mental health services will be recurrent throughout this report as they continue to be problematic in accessing those and having the appropriate amount of services needed for the issues that we're seeing. Also in adult services, our senior housing continues to be an issue. We continue to see housing that is dilapidated, unsafe, and where individuals are residing there. Continuing on to page 6, under Children's Services, our office continues to make strong efforts to find kinship placements and other appropriate arrangements for children who have been abused and neglected, other than foster care, if at all possible. We do this for the first reason is that we feel that it's very important that children, if they do have to be removed from their own home, they are placed in a home that they are familiar with, people that they are familiar with, as opposed to a foster home that they may not be familiar with. But we will use that resort if we have to. The second is the financial aspect of that. Keeping children out of foster care also reduces costs to the county, costs to the taxpayers, things such as that. Also, as you see there, I like to highlight, we do continue to see problematic issues of accessing mental health care and also the appropriate services for some of the issues that we are seeing that are becoming more and more complex with the abuse and neglect that children are suffering at the hands of their caretakers. On page 8, I would like to highlight one of the things that we are most proud of at our agency is that we have been doing that annual job fair for 3 years now. That occurs on the 3rd weekend of May. Last year, over 20 companies, as you see, throughout the region participated in this event. It was a major success in helping citizens of Gates County locate employment. We had approximately 165 individuals come to this past year. It takes about a year for us to get the employment numbers, but based on the previous year, about 40% of those individuals received jobs. So if you look at 165 individuals here, about a little under 70 people will come out of there with a job. It's done at very minimal cost. It's done within our budget. And we see it as a beneficial thing that occurs to help citizens of our counties to locate employment. As we know, it's a tough time now to try to bring in those employers that are here throughout the region. So instead of having to go to 20 places, they can go to one. They can start the interview process, start the application process, and hopefully gain employment. On page 10, under our economic services, to highlight a couple of things, we continue to see our workloads increase. Last month, I spoke about that a little bit through the Affordable Care Act presentation, how that will affect some of our public assistance programs. Also, monitoring the impact of our North Carolina Family Success and Services through technology, NC FAST, on operations and staffing needs. We have, as we said last time, we have implemented our Medicaid application as of October 1st. It seems some days that we take one step forward and the next day we'll take 2 steps back, but we continue to work hard in working with that program for the Medicaid applications. We hope to have all social work programs implemented by the end of 2016. As we spoke about last month through the Affordable Care Act presentation, we continue to monitor the impacts of that. The major impacts will be Medicaid expansion. The North Carolina General Assembly chose not to expand Medicaid from North Carolina last year, as we discussed. There has been some discussions of reviewing that decision this upcoming legislative session, and we will continue to monitor that. And finally, on page 12, we would like to thank you for all the support, the Board of Commissioners, County Manager's Office, in helping us to improve our technology for NC FAST, improve our agency technology. We would like to thank you very much for that and continue to help us to monitor to make vital improvements and advancements in order to successfully implement our North Carolina Family Success Services through technology programs as we continue to automate our programs throughout the Department of Social Services. I did not want to take very much time. If you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those.
All right. Our staff at DSS, full staff, or do you have
We're fully staffed at this time, fully staffed, no vacancies at this time. And I would like to commend the staff, the hard work and the good reports come out of there. It's not just from me, it's from the hard work of our staff, our administrative staff. Our staff go above and beyond to serve the citizens of Gates County. I often say a lot of times they have a thankless job. The only time that you maybe hear about the Department of Social Services is someone feels they haven't received the services that they should have received or they were upset about a decision, but please remember that for everyone to hear that there are literally tens and hundreds that we are helping each day to assist them with their needs and for programs that they're eligible for.
Anything else for Jeff?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, Commissioner Curran. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thank you, Jeff. All right, the next item on our agenda will be administrative reports, county manager report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, pleased to present the administrative report that's in your packet. I want to go over a couple of items with you as an update. We're working very hard on shared services with the Board of Education, and we're working very hard to transfer the community center subject to that agreement. There was a slight delay, but we believe that'll be done January 1st, 2014. In the economic development realm, a draft incentives policy has been developed. And in-house work on branding through brochures and the website have been worked on. And then in an operational perspective, there are all sorts of operational things that we're trying to iron out with Gates County Schools on how to maintain the community center and move forward with the shared services agreement. There are utility improvements still being made, including leak repair and planning and programming for the winter work cycle. That work cycle will primarily be involved with hydrant maintenance and vegetative maintenance. Vegetative maintenance not only on the water side, but also on the sanitary sewer side that needs to be done to keep us in compliance there. We have worked on the town system. There's an emergency repair on Business Route 158. There is another leak that we're aware of that we're working to fix. The renovations to the animal shelter are complete. Tri-county forces, including for Clemens, Chowan, and Gates counties, all came together and worked on that project. Using our own labor, we were able to save a considerable sum of money rather than see contractors come in and do that work. Some of the specialized work did require a contract to do, and that was primarily the flooring. Everything else was provided with the Tri-County labor force. There is one other item of work that needs to be done there that's been programmed in by Chowan County as part of the administration of that shelter, and that's to repair and renovate the incinerators there. The burner elements apparently have gone bad. That is work that probably can't be done by in-house staff. It's going to have to be sent somewhere to a specialist to work on that. Upcoming items, we plan on reviewing and revising that draft incentives policy along with input from you all as the Board County Commissioners, and we continue to evaluate the process to extend water to an existing industry. There are all sorts of meetings that we'll be having in the month of December. I did want to highlight for you, Thursday, December 19th is going to be a very busy day. We have the employee Christmas lunch. We have the historic courthouse meeting that evening, and Representative Mobley will be here with us, I believe, at 1 p.m. that day. So I just wanted to let y'all know that that is going to be a busy day. We'll continue to implement our utility continuous improvement strategies. We'd like to work on a flushing strategy, however, we're not quite there yet. We need to notify the public. That's probably going to be a spring event, but we do need to flush our system, and kind of want to get everybody on the same page with that. And then there are some maintenance issues with the sanitary sewer spray field that we need to undertake. You'll find on page 2 of the administrative report a discussion of shared services through all the different appendices. We're working in all of them. Some are further along than others. Be pleased to answer any questions about that. You'll see under subsection C that we have sent out our capital improvement forms to the departments and the schools, as well as all the agencies, to begin the FY15 budget process. This is what is normally called the needs analysis section, to get a handle on what capital needs everyone has moving forward. You'll see a brief overview of 2 projects, the historic courthouse and the sanitary sewer project, and you can read that narrative there as well. With that, I am pleased to present this administrative report. You'll find all the department reports attached in the back, and be happy to answer any questions that y'all may have.
Under operational utilities,
Yes, sir.
where we're continuing to implement utility continuous improvement strategies in the utility area, focusing primarily on flushing, hydrant maintenance, sewer into the winter months. Flushing and hydrant, does that require certification work?
It does not. The hydrant maintenance, there are several hydrants that are out of service that we're going to try to get back in service. All the hydrants need painting as part of their routine care and operation. So we're going to try to paint all of our hydrants. One fire district has painted theirs differently, so that's going to be an issue that we're going to have to work through. The flushing is essentially the turnover of the system and dead-end lines to improve water quality and to reduce sedimentation buildup in the lines as a normal and routine operations and maintenance strategy. So there are no certification, any kind of special requirements there. It can be done with our in-house forces at little to no cost. Really, the only cost you're looking at for those two items is the paint, and if we discover a hydrant that we can't repair, we're going to have to buy components to either repair it, or we're going to have to buy another hydrant. Hydrants are fairly expensive. We would not want to buy one unless we had to. They're about $2,500, $3,000 a piece. They're rather pricey. But we've had some that have been out of service for a while. A couple of volunteer fire departments have approached me about some that they don't feel are functioning correctly. I know one volunteer fire department would like to see an additional hydrant, and I'm not sure that there are funds to do it, but we'll certainly evaluate it moving forward into the end of the fiscal year and see if we do have funds available. One misconception is that all these hydrants are for fire flow. Unfortunately, some of the line sizes will not be useful in a fire situation. The lines are just quite frankly too small. They can be used to fill a tanker, but you couldn't draft out of some of these lines. They're just too small to carry the flow for a fire. So not all of them are fire hydrants that are out of service. Some of them are flushing mechanisms, the valves at the end of lines to enable flushing. But they're very useful in filling a tanker for a haul operation, which is how most of our fire departments are fighting these fires. Like I said, the size of the lines wouldn't permit you to draft right out of the line.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
what is the progress by tying in the city system or tying the Gatesville system to the county system?
That system has been tied in for a number of years. It's tied in on Business Route 158 coming into town because the town was purchasing water from the county. Their wells have been deactivated for some time. So all that's been done. What we need to do is look at a transfer of the property with the tank. We need to get a quitclaim deed going in that manner. We've transferred all the accounts. Everyone should be getting billed moving forward in January. But it is already tied in. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question to Mr. Mendenhall. Can emergency management money be used for these fire hydrants?
I do not
And
know.
I see Billy sitting there. Now, you know, to me, I was in our volunteer fire department, and I know people out there in our communities. If there's a fire at their home, they want that fire hydrant closest to them, and it also means a whole lot when it's working. It also means things to their insurance on their home if they're within certain distance of these fire hydrants. To me, that's sort of a priority, and that's the reason I'm asking the question, can emergency management monies, if he has some that's available, or if not, the county needs to look at finding this money somehow to make these fire hydrants work.
Mr. Commissioner, I'm not aware of the answer, but we will research it and we will get back to you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Do have one last item on the second page of the sanitary sewer project 2. At the end of paragraph 1 or subparagraph 1, you have evaluation of spray bill attached. We didn't have that. Is that something that could be discussed later?
And that is an item in closed session since it's a pending real estate acquisition issue.
Okay. All right. Our next item would be our finance report. I guess We have it before us,
Yes, sir, it's in the packets.
and there are no additional things you'd like to present right now.
Are there any questions?
Did have one. I mentioned at our last meeting, in the tax department, there was a budget overage. Have we addressed that yet?
We're still evaluating, we're aware of it, and the overall budget at this time is okay, but we know that we have to backfill that budget, so we're looking to figure out how to do that.
Just keep us abreast of that. Well, I guess we will be abreast of it when you bring it up.
Yes, you'll see the amendment when it's taken care of.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Anything else on finance in this board? If not, we'll have our tax report from our tax director.
Thank you, Kenny, for fixing this before I got in here. Y'all have your tax reports, they were at your places this morning. Really nothing out of the normal to report. One thing I will point out, up at the top of the report, under motor vehicles, the line item discoveries, in that line item this month, what you see is a little over $51,000. As next month and as time continues to move forward, you will see that line item decrease and eventually become zero. This line item represents the discoveries for the August renewal motor vehicles, which are the last group of motor vehicles that we will be billing under this system. We do have some catch-ups that have come in, late renewals, that sort of thing. And I think right now we have about 160 of those that we're working on. But you will see that line item go down. I know you may not have had time to really look at this. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them, or later if something pops up, I'll be more than glad for you to call and I'll try and explain. And Billy, if this report looks very foreign, sometime if you have any questions or would like to stop by the office and whatnot, I'll be glad to explain it to you in detail.
Oh, a couple of things. Firstly, we contacted Travis Ellis at our last meeting.
I have called him. I was told that he needed to speak with his assistant in reference to where things stood with that, and he would get back with me. As of yet, I have not had a response back, so I will follow up with that.
All right. The second item is now that we're paying personal taxes through DMV, have we seen a more consistent cash flow?
It's about the same. I think eventually, because we were billing monthly anyway, so that money was coming in monthly, even on the old system. The biggest thing right now is we're kind of getting in double. We're getting in the money from DMV and also the renewals that we were still billing. So what's happening is we're getting the money in sooner than what we were with the old system.
Randy, what is being addressed with automobiles again? The inspection process and the inability to be able to drive your car is prompting people to make those payments. But what about the cars that are sitting in the yards that don't have tags on them?
They are to be listed with regular personal property in January. And we do get a report in this new system. There is a report built in that we can see which vehicles have not been renewed.
Okay.
So there is a report that we can follow up with that, because the way it is now, if you do not go in and renew that plate, the taxes aren't due. You know, there's no more prorating those taxes and that sort of thing like we had been doing. But they have fixed a report where we can get those records so we can follow up with those.
Is that
Is that going to be a burden on your?
It's going to be an aggravation, but yeah, that's better than what we've had to really to follow up with in the past, so. Any other questions in reference to the motor vehicles? I also wanted to let you know that a couple of weeks ago, I attended the Assessors Conference in Winston-Salem, and of course, we're still a lot of discussion with motor vehicles and still some things to iron out with that. But one of the main discussions was on revaluations. And as you know, with the change in the economy and so forth, we're seeing things a lot different as far as what market value is versus our tax value. And right now, our tax values are about 20 to 25% higher than what the actual market is as far as things selling. And what we're seeing across the state is sales ratios above 100%, which is something we've never seen before. But in the next, when the General Assembly reconvenes, this is going to more likely be a hot topic that probably when they come out of that, something will have changed. What we were talking about at the conference was probably what we will see is the revaluations go into a 4-year cycle instead of an 8-year cycle. However, we're very interested in seeing some type of trigger built into that if you reach that 4-year cycle and your ratio is still 95 to 100%, where your values still are good with the market, that you could possibly put that revaluation off until the 6th year. There was some concern with how many times the revaluation could be put off, because I think we had a few counties with this last change with the market that had been doing 4-year revaluations, and the boards decided to put it off for 6 years, and then when the economy really hadn't changed, they put it off again, and it really put some counties in a bind, really, in tax offices and so forth. So that was one thing we were very concerned about, and they have invited us to the table for the discussion, so they're looking for input from the people that actually will be doing the work versus us just seeing some ruling out of Raleigh. But that is something in the future that I think we will be making some changes with. And also, just to update you on a few things, we will be sending our list and abstracts to the printers December the 16th, and hopefully they will be mailed out on the 19th. And I do want to remind you that in this year's budget, we did not provide the funds to send the real property only abstracts. The only ones that will be mailed will be those that have personal property or some type of exemption on them. So if it's just real property only, they will not be receiving an abstract. We have posted our list and abstract on the website along with the homestead exemption application, the disability certification, veteran certification, and I believe also the business personal property form. But all of that has been put on our website. Don't have any questions?
So individual property owners will be able to go to the website and look at their abstract?
They will not be able to look at their abstract, but if they have personal property that needs to be listed, they will be able to go to the website to print out a blank abstract that they can use to list that property. Any other questions?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next item will be personnel report. And we have in the package. Are there any questions? If not, we have our departmental reports from our water collection. No comments. EMS.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like Billy, considering he's here, to explain some of the things that's going on where he has got some equipment out there at the old prison and how he's utilizing that. Let the general public know a little bit about it. I'm gonna put you to talking, you're here.
That's fine. I'd be glad to talk. Excuse me, we are in the process, please excuse my appearance, of painting and doing wallboard today, actually. Few people that I talk to actually know the property that exists at the old DOC site. When people say the old prison, they think of the big brick building that you see out front. That building is dry and capable of some good storage. The bathrooms that exist there are not code compliant. It's not accessible really for personal use at this time, but it is a good place that we can keep things dry. It's got a good concrete floor. It doesn't have cells. Everybody, myself included, thought it was a building full of cells. That's not what it is. It's just a big concrete building. It has 2 wings in it, and they're divided by bars, but that's the only bars at the entire prison. The building that we are working on and where our equipment is, it was an old bunk building. It's 30 feet wide, 104 feet long. It was basically just an open room with restrooms on one end and showers on that same end. We have divided that space up into office space, boardroom space, meeting space, and a small kitchenette area, and then divided the bathrooms into male and female bathrooms. So the intent for that is on a day-to-day basis, it's going to be our emergency our offices. In a disaster, it's going to be an emergency operations center where we used to break down your old commissioner's room and use projectors and things to run our incidents out of there. Then after we moved down to the office down the hill, we ran the last 2 hurricanes or incidents from that, but it's really congested. During an emergency activation, we should be housing at some point probably 12 to 20 people, and it's just can't do that in the space that we had. This will give us that luxury. It would also give us a place to have public meetings, fire association meetings. Our consortium of emergency management have quarterly meetings, and it gives us a place that we can do that. For training for law enforcement, for fire service, for EMS, to have a centralized location where they can do some training as well. So the kitchen building is being stabilized now. It's got some leaks in the roof. We're going to stabilize those leaks. We don't have money to fix the roof right now, but we're going to get it where it's not leaking and get the material that has been leaked on, get that stabilized. And then there's another office building to the far right that is secure as well. It doesn't have any leaks in it. It's got power and HVAC and that kind of stuff.
My next question is, what are the plans on the chain link fence around it? If the general public is going to be using it, I would like to see that taken down, and maybe John can talk about that. If we're going to be using it, the general public's going to be there, I don't want them to feel like they're fenced in.
I understand that, and we've had some discussions to that point, but all of our equipment is going to be there. The equipment that's right now at Timmy's place behind the chain link fence, because it's a secure location, that will give us the ability to put all of our infrastructure in our place. I'm not bugging Timmy and keeping his place junked up with all of our equipment. So I like the idea that the fence is there. When the compound is occupied, there is a gate that's open. There will be public parking and a paved or concrete walkway from the front gate. That I like the idea of the chain link fence for security reasons for the equipment that's going to be housed there. But if we need to do something else, we can entertain that.
But how is our equipment secured now? Is it secured now?
Yes, sir, it's secured now in the old Sunbury Fire Department and at the water plant,
So it is fenced in now?
or under lock and key at the fire department.
What are the possibilities of maybe some of that fencing being moved, so it's not right across the front, but will be moved to the back there to keep it nice and secure for your equipment? In other words, like I say, when the general public goes out there, I want them to feel comfortable that hey, this was a prison, and they know that, but I don't want them behind the chain link fence per se.
Right. I have found out through this process that anything is possible.
I think we probably could look at maybe having a special area for equipment, security, and might be something we'll take a look at.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, like the Tri-County Animal Shelter, I have to commend emergency management staff. We're using a lot of what I call force account, which is a DOT term, using our own forces. So all we're usually out is material, much like the HVAC units. We've done the HVAC, you've done all the painting, carpentry that you possibly could. Some things require a contractor, obviously, electrical, plumbing. But we're trying to use our own forces as much and just buy the material, buy the paint on state contract and paint it. So I want to commend his forces of doing that, and we'll certainly take a look at the fencing. And I really think we envision a comprehensive use of that facility. We'll have to get the public out there to where it's possible and share it as much as we can, because the more we use a facility, much like the courthouse, if you're going to pay to keep the lights on, you want to pack as much stuff as you can into that space to make it efficient. So I appreciate your comments, and we'll take a look at it, sir.
And I know this is a work in process, and you basically have not been there very long, but that was just one of my concerns, and consider.
And I hope you have received your invitation by email. We've been kind of under the gun. We needed something to really push us, so we planned a meeting at that facility on the 16th of this month. So we're going to have some kind of meeting there, and once we have everything in place, we're going to invite y'all out and have an open house and see how the EOC is going to operate. Have a special place there assigned for you for emergency activation. So we're excited about the possibilities.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next departmental report would be our maintenance. Mr. Boone, have any comment? Okay.
Excuse me. If I could say something.
You want to come forward?
Good morning.
Morning.
I just want to say that we have been doing a very, very good job of, helping out with getting all our buildings up to par. I can say that I do have one maintenance guy that has really, really done a tremendous job as far as us having to hire HVAC or, water, getting, a plumber out. He has really, really done a great job as far as, with our units and stuff. And he's got the units at the prison camp up and going. And we didn't have to call anyone in to get, spending extra money that, we're reserving. But I really, really want you all to, think about, the hard work that he has put in to help keep, the county going without spending a tremendous amount of money.
Crystal, who's that gentleman?
Nathan Riddick.
Nathan Riddick?
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to commend Crystal's Department, Buildings and Grounds, has worked very hard. They were at the Tri-County Animal Shelter. They've been up at the prison. I think it's safe to say that all of our HVAC units work, and we've done repairs to this building that were not repaired during the last hurricane, so we're back to where we need to be on this building. We've had leaks that have been repaired, so I'm very proud to say that our physical infrastructure, the investment the taxpayers have in their physical plant throughout the county is in good shape. That doesn't mean that there's not work to be done, but everyone is working exceptionally hard. I think their lists of tasks, because they get a list of tasks every week, is long. I think it's fair to say that it's long, but they're working on it, and they're working diligently, and I'd just like to commend that effort because they are working so very hard.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'd like to also thank our water department. I know they've been working on these leaks. I don't think we're hearing as many complaints about leaks. I had one where I live. I got the notification over our reverse 911 system from Billy. They said they were going to take down our water or cut the water off. The water was cut off, the leak was fixed in a very timely manner, and about an hour shorter than what they had been predicting. So I'd like to thank him for certainly from my side of the county, and I hope everybody else feels the same about these water leaks that are being repaired.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, the next departmental report would be Gibbs. Any questions, comments? We have our water department. I believe last would be, we've already,
Mr. Chairman, you have in front of you a schedule and a calendar. If you would look at your place, a new schedule was put before you. There was a typo in the old one, a whole series of typos. I didn't want to turn 2014 too soon, but you've got one in front of you that has 2014. The dates are the same, but the year has been changed. There are a couple of meeting conflicts moving forward in January that y'all need to be aware of. So I went ahead and I thought if I was going to look at January, I might as well look at the other 11 months. And I think last year around January, February, I presented to you a budget calendar. I just went ahead and consolidated all those calendars together. So you've got on this list here in front of you that you have at your place, you've got a schedule of meetings anticipating some issues with the New Year holiday, as well as the budget and some budget request conferences, budget presentations, budget adoption, some joint meetings with the school board, as well as joint meetings with the planning board, all put in one comprehensive document so you can kind of begin to plan out your entire 2014 year. Just want to put that in front of you and be pleased to answer any questions, make any changes, but we are going to have a conflict at our next regular meeting that will need to be addressed before we leave here today.
okay. The January meeting. On New Year's Day.
Yes.
All right. Would preference be make it on a Monday, but I just got court on Monday. So the following Wednesday, then that would put you on the, that was the 8th, which will be the 8th. Is that acceptable, everyone? January 8th? All right, we can entertain a motion to change our January 1st meeting to January 8th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so motion and second, and we'll make that change. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. All right. Calendar should,
I believe there's also a conflict with Martin Luther King that Monday. Is the,
13th.
I believe it's the 20th, Martin Luther King holiday.
So we have a meeting on the 13th, on the 20th.
The 20th, that's the night meeting. It's an odd month, so you have a night meeting then. You'll see on your list, I put canceled. I didn't know what to do with it.
Now, we are only required by statute to have one meeting per month.
That's correct.
Is the board's, do you anticipate a lot on that agenda, or is that a meeting we may want to just cancel for this year?
As far as agenda, what we've got so far, there's going to be a public hearing on a rezoning. There's There's also going to be a project budget ordinance change for some generators for emergency management that's being administered in the whole northeast through Gates County. Those are the only two items that I'm aware of, and that would be on the January 8th agenda. I'm not aware of anything for January 20th unless something is continued or added at the last minute. There's nothing on our radar at this time.
Would it be safer to schedule a meeting and possibly have a short meeting?
On the 20th.
Well, not necessarily on the 20th, on an alternate day. I mean, if nothing comes up, then we'll just gather in a short meeting. I don't want to upset anybody's schedule.
We did it on a Wednesday night, 22nd, but of course that's sometimes not a good night, Wednesday nights.
What I was thinking, if we had something scheduled, and it could either be a short meeting, or if something came up that was very important, we've already got something scheduled. That's my thought.
I guess we just need to get a date.
The 22nd sounds fine for me, which will be on Wednesday.
It would be fine with me too. I was just thinking about our public, a lot of churches meet on Wednesday.
Yeah, that was the thought. How about if we,
The 21st, the Tuesday.
that's not a good day.
Oh, really?
How about if we moved it up to 5 o'clock on the Wednesday, which should be the 22nd. And we did it at 5:30. Maybe, is that all right? So we'll move the night meeting to the 22nd and have it at 5:30. Okay, you'll send something out on that. January 22nd, okay?
Mr. Chairman, getting back to the calendar for December, Ms. Reba Green Holly had invited us for the 19th from 12 to 2, and then Representative Mobley is going to be here at 1.
Okay. Let's go, has gotten tight. 1 o'clock at what time is our invitation?
It starts at 12 and they'll come in shifts, 12 from 1 to 2, like we did the July cookout.
Well,
So we could do the 12 to 1.
yeah. Possibly invite Representative Mobley to come and have lunch with us.
That'd be fine.
We might want to do that. Okay. Does that take care of our conflicts?
I believe so. Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Next item. I think on inspection department, we didn't have anything on there, I guess. Correspondence, articles of interest, county calendar. And no public hearing, old business none. Next will be our new business. I think we need about a 5-minute break. Yes, please. And we'll come back and we'll pick up at our new business, item 8. All right, let's take a 5-minute recess. Okay, we will come out of recess and reconvene. We stop on our agenda at item A, which is our new business. It has to do with ordinance amending for the FY14 agenda, budget. And I'll turn it over to the county manager and let him explain what's being requested.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a new process. As you all recall, in the past, we used to do budget amendments monthly, and you do them one at a time. What this does is it puts the budget amendments all together so you can see how they all interrelate and see a holistic view of the budget. So you're not caught looking at one and then looking at another and not seeing how they all in aggregate change things. So what you see here is all the changes for the quarter. They're primarily grant related. There are some capital changes, but by and large they're grant related, and that's one of the things that you see all of these monthly budget amendments for, because our grant cycles are all different, the grant receivables are different. We change grant budgets quite often through all the various departments. You'll see on here, and I'll just read it so you can understand, and then the old budget amendment forms for each of those line items has been filled out and is attached so that we're not losing any of the continuity of things, but rather seeing the whole holistic things. So this is ordinance 14-3, and it's an ordinance of the County of Gates providing that the annual budget ordinance be amended by revising certain revenues and expenditures. And it reads, be it ordained by the Gates County Board of Commissioners that the following amendments are made to the budget ordinance for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2014, because we are in the FY14 budget year. Section 1 is to amend the general fund. The revenues are to be changed as follows. Small home repair grant, AHFG carry forward money, daycare including transportation, Life Smarts carry forward, school-age child care, foster care, state and federal admin. And you can see the line and object codes and the amounts there as well. Section 2 is to amend the general fund. This is the expenditure side. So we changed the revenues, now we're going to change the expenditures. HCCDG minor home repair, educational supplies, daycare including transportation, staff travel, personnel, client travel, staff travel again in a different line, TANF, AFDC foster care, professional services legal, and then salaries. Section 3 is to amend the old courthouse project fund. The revenues are to be changed as follows. We had $150,000 from the CIP that we allocated about 90 days ago to sit in the CIP fund. As you know, we had the bids come in high on the structural repair. We've got the negotiation down about 25%, but it does add to that budget. Out of the abundance of caution, we have that CIP money there. I don't believe we'll need it all, but it is available to be allocated and spent to further that project. So Section 3 budgets that as a revenue. Section 4 budgets it as an expenditure in that section. You'll see Section 5 is to amend the E911 fund so far as allocating E911 restricted fund balance. We approved the grant for 911 that we received from the state. It requires us to allocate our 911 fund balance, which can only be used for capital improvements to the 911 system. So we approved the grant, but now we have to approve our side of the project. So we're talking about the revenues there. So in the 911 surcharge monies that the public pays to provide for a modern 911 system, we're going to spend $250,000 plus the grant funds, and then Section 6 is allocating that out as an expenditure. And then to amend the capital improvement fund, where it was already transferred previously to the historic courthouse project fund. Since it's funds going to projects, we have to clean up the fund account. So Section 7 and 8 cleans up both of those fund accounts. Section 9 addresses a problem that we've had in the utilities sections. The manager and finance director have always been authorized in the general fund to reallocate amongst object codes. We don't have that ability to do in the water codes for the utilities. We're seeking that ability to do that so we can make some of those adjustments as they come up. And then Section 10 is the purpose, so the public understands what we're doing here, and then I'll read that purpose for you all as a board and members of the public. The purpose of this amendment is to account for various administrative, operational, and maintenance changes culminating in the first half of the fiscal year, and it would be effective at the date of its final adoption. And then you can see all the language associated therewith. And then each of the successive pages goes line item by line item of what's being changed, and you can see how the document was created in each of these individual lines. I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you all may have.
I would ask that at the end, or since this ordinance was introduced,
Yes, sir. Okay.
Ordinance, because you get into a different requirement.
So John, this is going to be a new method?
That's correct. What you had in June, you adopted a budget ordinance. Technically, to amend any type of ordinance, you have to adopt another ordinance. So only ordinances can change ordinances. Only by resolution or ordinance can you change, much like the auditor was saying, the fund balance, what's restricted and reserved. This makes it a more formal process, and it makes it more holistic, so you can see every change on one sheet. Yes, sir, it is our new proposed method of doing that.
So if we didn't, if we had not adopted, we're not getting ready to adopt this, is it fair to say that we would have had an amendment document for each one of these today?
You probably would have had amendment documents starting back in September or October, because what we do is we monitor, and you'll see some of the dates on these, they vary. We monitor where we are in the budget, and we try to make sure that the department code is not over, but individual line codes have some flexibility, much like in the tax realm. But you would have received each of these individually in piecemeal format. So you might have received 3 or 4 in October, 2 in November, 1 in December. Part of looking at budgets is to think holistically. If you get bogged down in object line codes, it's easy to get the whole thing away from you before you see how it all interacts. So now you're beginning to see this is a whole package as opposed to each individual piece.
I think it might be helpful, for example, in section 1 and section 2, you see how those two sections get sort of long. You know, there's
Right.
6 in one, and then maybe 11 in the second section. The ones that are corresponding, like the first 4 in section 1 are corresponding with the like revenues and expenditures in section 2. I think it would be helpful for me if there was an asterisk out in front of those, so that I know when I see that it's a revenue and expenditure. I don't have to spend so much time hunting those down.
Right.
And they're all in line there, but there could be a scenario where one was number 6 there, and you follow me?
Do you want an asterisk or maybe like a footnote, like a 1 and a 1 and a 2 and a 2, or a little
Just
footnote
draw my attention
up to the side?
to that.
Okay.
It may not be necessary, but I was just thinking it might be a good way to do it. If you think it's cumbersome or distracting, you can just forget that.
Well, I tell you, it makes sense because as a revenue line, you'll see it further down. You see there are like 6 revenue lines, but there are more expenditure lines. That's because some of the revenue lines are broken apart as expenditures.
Okay.
So the expenditures don't correspond to you might have 2 expenditure lines for every revenue line. And so I think it makes sense to put some kind of footnote, and then that way you can see where each expenditure is being expended out into what object code.
Okay. Thank you.
I would be interested in the finance director. We complied with Bill Statute 15, 1 whatever, dash 15, in doing this.
Yes, any amendments have to be brought to the board and approved based on our ordinance. And our ordinance states that anytime we're increasing revenue, I think the only thing that we can amend without it coming to you in advance would be interdepartmental allocations.
Well,
I guess I don't understand.
yeah,
Really,
what-
it's the same process, he's just putting it in.
yeah, but what I'm getting at is, our budget ordinance requires public hearing. The minor budget amendments that we do in adjusting line items, we don't normally do a budget, we don't call that an amendment that requires a public hearing or whatever. But as long as we're in the requirements of our financial general statute, that's what I'm looking for.
Yes, sir. And I think this is fine. It really just takes the forms that I normally bring you all and puts it together in one summary. And the forms are still attached for your information for the detail. But it doesn't change really the process. It's really just a formatting change. Like when we changed the forms a couple of years ago, Commissioner Moore wanted to see some subtotals. It's really the same thing else.
Well, as a board, we wanted to go on record that, based on the financial director, that this is in compliance with the North Carolina General Statute for Financial Budget. In case of the LGC or someone said, hey, you just did something, and, but we have that recommendation from you,
Yes, sir.
and,
Well, you have the recommendation from me as well, Mr. Chairman, that is in compliance. Yes, sir.
all right, well,
On this one, though, I do, and I did not catch this before, in section 7 and 8, there are, the account numbers need to be changed, and I didn't catch it, there were typos, they don't match the attached form, so I just want to make sure when you all approve this, we can make those changes. Section 7 and 8 should be referring to fund number 48, not fund 22. And I apologize for not catching that before now.
which one is this?
Section 7 and 8
Okay,
should reference budget amendment, if you bear with me, 19, attached to the back. You've got the documents attached to the back, and those are the account numbers that should be referenced in those sections.
all right, any more questions from the board? All right, we have, now does this include all of these as well? Yes, these are copies of what's on the front, on the other page.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, so when we adopt this, we'll be adopting all of the amendments as well. All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to get this approved with the corrections that Sandy was talking about in the number prop codes indicated.
All right, we have a motion.
I second.
All right, motion is second that we approve the new, we don't call this a resolution, but an ordinance amendment 14-3. We're at 114. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Okay, the next item on our agenda is consideration of a request to apply for public school building capital fund funding.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this item presents for the board's consideration a request to draw down lottery funds for public school building capital fund funding. There's a request that you'll see on the second page past the cover letter from the Board of Education detailing the form and format of the request, and it is for the annual debt payment. And this is a form that they have typically used, and it cites the general statutes in question.
How much was that?
The number is $543,672.00.
Okay, the school board has brought before us request for approval to apply for the public school building capital fund through the North Carolina Education Lottery. What is the pleasure of the board, or there's
Make a motion that we approve the request from the school board.
I'll second.
That's been motion and second that we approve the request from the school board? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Mr. Mendenhall. I'm sure this is I know it's for the new classrooms in the gymnasium, that how to pay on that debt. Is that not correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Is this figure pretty much what was projected? Or do you have any, or do you know one way or the other, was this the projected figure? Is it higher or lower?
I do not, but we can find that question out.
Okay.
Mrs. Pittman knows the answer to that question.
This is the amount that we're requesting, that is the total debt payment amount. We will only get about $125,000 of this.
Oh, okay.
But every year, they require us to apply to the lottery to draw down our funds. So every year, you'll see this form. And they won't let us do one form over the life of the loan. We have to do this every year. So
Right.
every year is applied, and we put the total debt amount.
I was thinking that figure, that was a high figure.
Yeah.
If we were gonna get all of that from the, the lottery funds, because I was thinking that was mighty high from what we've been getting.
Yeah, we request everything because in case for some reason we might luck in the draw, we win the lottery and they have additional.
Oh, we win the lottery.
Draw down, exactly. We can draw down what we need. So
Okay.
we apply for the full amount, knowing that we probably will only see, I believe, $125,000.
Okay, all right.
I think originally they had expected about $350,000.
Right, because I know that lottery monies fluctuate with the economy,
Right.
and that's the reason I was asking that question.
Sandy, if I may, is that number that we actually requested, is that based on the number of students?
No, sir, that is our debt payment.
Okay, so that's a debt payment in whole.
Yes. The principal and interest for that loan for this year. And that, I believe that loan is set up that it decreases slightly each year because it's a fixed principal on that.
So it's 1 year's installment. I believe.
All right. No other question. We will have the resolution 14-7 approving public transportation plan. Mr. Patrice, yes. Morning.
We are requesting this resolution to complete the process for the locally coordinated plan. This is a transportation plan that's done regionally. This time it was done with 3 different regions. The last plan was done in 2009, I believe. I don't think, probably none of you were contacted this time to serve in the process because I was contacted very late in the process. Dix County was inadvertently left off, but I made the last couple of meetings, and this is the plan that we came about for. It includes all 10 counties of Albemarle region, and it also includes the Mid-East Commission and the Peanut Belt Rural Planning Organization. This plan is required by the federal government for us to draw down certain grant funds. I think the TTAP grants that we've been applying for, it has to come out of the needs of what this plan demonstrates. We're asking for a resolution accepted.
All right. Have before you the request for a resolution adopting the Northeast Regional Locally Coordinated Public Transportation Human Service Transportation Plan. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend that we accept this.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda will be citizens' comment. None.
Mr. Chairman, there's an item 9 on the agenda.
Oh, sorry. Consideration of, wait a minute, yes. Consideration of mutual aid agreement with Dismal Swamp. Thought we just did that. Okay. The National Wildlife Refuge. I think this is annual, or is this?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a new mutual aid agreement. We've never had an agreement with the National Wildlife Refuge in the past. So this item presents for the board's consideration a mutual aid agreement with the U.S. Department of Interior Fish and Wildlife Service. What it does is it enables us to call upon them. For instance, if there is a tornado in Coral Peak, that they can help with traffic control, the federal equipment that sits in Suffolk could be utilized in the event of an emergency. This helps all of Gates County, but primarily the northeast, eastern portions of the county. It's something they have with their other communities, Suffolk and Chesapeake, and I'm not fully aware of what Camden is doing with the mutual aid agreement with the refuge. But this begins a discussion, or it stimulates from a discussion that we had regarding how we could better capitalize on the resources that the refuge has. They have, of course, their main headquarters in Suffolk as you drive up near the airport up there. There is a multimodal trail and a tourist development authority in Camden County that is working very hard to promote tourist development. And they have brochures, and they're doing a lot of things with the Great Dismal Swamp. Chesapeake, of course, has their access facilities. We only really have flood control structures and some fire prevention canals. There's an opportunity, not in this mutual aid agreement, but in future discussions, to talk about how we can promote tourism development, particularly in Sunbury and Coral Peak, and to promote and grow that resource, because there are a lot of folks that like to capitalize on that resource. It's not like Merchants Mill Pond, it's not for recreation, it's more for fauna and flora preservation. They're all about the wildlife, and that includes the plants and the animals. But as a secondary component, they're about recreation, primarily passive recreation, and something that they're interested in partnering with us, and I think this is a good first step. That they're willing to enter into a mutual aid agreement for emergencies and to further talk about what tourist development potential there may be in future federal budgets to create more trails and maybe a visitor contact center someplace in Sunbury or Coral Peak that could promote the heritage of the Great Dismal Swamp, about the heritage of Northeast North Carolina. So this is a first step in, I think, many steps, getting closer with our neighbors in the swamp and partnering with that resource. It is a federal resource, so we've all paid for it. We just need to access it better in the future moving forward.
All right. We've got a briefing on the mutual aid. I don't foresee any county funds up front to be expended. It's basically we'll be involved in providing resources and equipment and could exchange if we needed to. So what is the pleasure of the board? I think it sounds like a good thing.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to remind the board that someone from that area came and made us aware of some summer scholarships a year or so ago, and offered those scholarships for summer work students. So I do remember the presentation that included part of that. I'll certainly be in favor and move that we accept the mutual aid agreement.
All right. Good motion.
Is a motion? Yes, sir.
A second. All right. Motion and second. And we accept this mutual aid agreement. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item would be our citizens' comments. I don't believe we have any. And our commission's comments prior to going into closed session. Let me start off today.
Go right ahead.
Take care. Okay, I do want to thank everyone for being here, and I hope everyone has a great holiday going forward. Enjoy all that is being done. I think there's a Christmas parade supposed to be scheduled. Is it this Saturday or next Saturday?
December 14th.
All right. Christmas parade is December 14th. I would like to remind the commissioners that traditionally we try to participate, if not all, maybe one or two. But let's keep that in mind. Town of Batesville, they put on quite a good event. One of the things I wanted to make the public aware, as well as the commissioners, is I received a telephone call from Ms. Kim Swartz, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the Ronald Jordan Community Health Center. Ms. Schwartz has asked for a letter of support from the Board of Commissioners to apply for funds from what they call the the Health Center. Let me start again. The HRSA Service Area Competition Grant. It's called the SAC grant. And this grant provides funds to health facilities in Camden, Chowan, Currituck, Gates, Pasquotank, and Queens County. Currently, we have the Gateway Community Health Center here in the town of Gatesville. Centera purchased the Albemarle Hospital, who supported Gateway, and our Gateway no longer has support from a sponsor like Albemarle Hospital. Centera is a private organization, and so they could not provide that support. The way Ms. Schwartz explained it to me, it is very difficult for a health organization to maintain their federal qualification standards and also to maintain the funding that's required to go forward and be self-sustainable. Therefore, they have talked with Gateway, and our Gateway has told them that they want to try on their own first before committing under the Royal Chowan Community Health Center. But Royal Chowan Community Health Center wants to move forward with the federal grant that they can apply for. They have tentatively acquired a place on Medical Center Road, which used to be the old dentist's office. They have access to that, and they're going to apply for this grant. They have this competitive grant, but they feel that there's a great possibility of getting it. And even if Gateway does not go with them now, if they want to do so in the future, they could do so and come along with them and come under their umbrella. So they're asking us to give them a letter of support. And I have a template letter, and I can read it to you. It says, basically it would say, Gates County Board of Commissioners pleased to offer this letter of support for the Royal Chowan Community Health Center in its application to seek funds from the HRSA Service Area Competition SAC grant encompassing Camden, Chowan, Currituck, Gates, Pasquotank, and Queens County. Gates County Board of Commissioners has shared the vision with RCCHC and its commitment to increasing access to care for the indigent, uninsured, and most at-risk patients in our shared services area. And we can add some more information if we desire. We fully support RCCHC and their application efforts for the HRSA SAC grant, and will continue to work closely with RCCHC to meet the comprehensive health needs of the residents of Northeastern North Carolina. And please feel free to contact us for additional information. Sincerely, the Chairman of the Board decided on behalf of the Board of Commissioners. This is a request. That is basically the briefing that was provided, and we would like to submit this copy to the county manager's office and have them follow through on that, and maybe we can provide a letter of support at our next meeting.
Can I ask for clarification?
Sure.
Okay, the Gateway is what the Gates County Medical Facility out here across from Todd.
That's correct.
Okay, and they were funded by Albemarle, or supported by Albemarle.
Right.
They don't have that support, but they want to still trying to go it on their own.
Right. The problem is you need support to be considered a federal qualified health center, federally approved, and without a hospital or something of that nature supporting them, they would not be able to carry on that certification.
Did they attain that certification? I know we have meeting on that in the old commission. They attained that qualification, accreditation, I guess you would say.
That is my understanding,
Okay.
that they had it as
But they-
long as Alamo is,
So they would need basically a sponsor to maintain that.
exactly.
Is what we need.
But they think that they can obtain a sponsor?
Well, their board of directors want to pursue trying to go it alone, whether, I don't know if they're going to try to get federal qualification under someone else. But they want to pursue it on their own before they sign up to RCCHC.
I have another question, City Mayor. You commented about the old dentist office out there, that the dentist is there.
There is a dentist there.
And then the mental health was using the other side.
It's one of those buildings. I may have said dentist office, but it's in that area.
Okay, I think, all right, so when you said that, I was wondering if we were talking about just a mental health agency out there, but we're not. We're talking about the office here in Gatesville.
Well, his office space would be out in the medical center. Gateway will still go on as they've gone in the past, as long as they can. But they're going to lose a lot of funding. They're going to apply for grants, and they may not get them. Eventually, Gateway may have to close. And we don't want to be in a position where we have nothing, you know. So that is RCCHC. They're here to support the county regardless, whether or not Gateway goes with them or not. But they are able to maintain the federal qualified health center certification, or how that goes, status, yes.
In our closed session meeting today, if I may, Mr. Chairman, we're going to talk about economic development. Mr. Chairman, I have a matter that I didn't know this letter was coming, but it may shed some light on that. I don't want to hold them up, but what I have to say in closed session might impact our decision on this. So
We can table this coming out, to come out of closed
that's
session.
good. Yeah.
I want to make everyone aware of it before we send it to the county manager's office. Follow through. All right? Thank you. I think I've said enough right now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
May I get?
Yes.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank everybody for being here. I went and visited the bridge folks down here, what I call the Twin Bridges, this morning. I check on them real often, but I went down and spoke to the superintendent this morning, and he said that his boss man came down yesterday and told them what day the bridge would be open. They don't think they'll be ready, but he told them what day the bridge would be open. And he says the bridge will be ready on the 23rd of December. But he would suggest that you travel it on the 24th. He was told it would be, by his superior there, it would
Just
be.
as Santa can get through.
Yeah, that it would be open on the 23rd if they had to work at night and on weekends. Okay. They've made a lot of progress. On this first end of the bridge, they've actually started moving some of their equipment out. But they're down there using heavy equipment on the second bridge as of this morning. And that's why I was a little bit late getting here. I couldn't get away from the guy once I stopped. So, but anyway, I thought that would be something that you might want to hear. I know a lot of people are looking forward to making that shorter route. How about it, Ed? Anyway, thank you everyone for being here.
I'd like to thank everybody for being here that has stayed. I see about 4 people that did not have to be here. But we're always glad to see you come, and I'd like to see you stay for the whole thing. I want to wish everybody that is here certainly a Merry Christmas, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving also. But it's always good to see the ones that come. Thank you.
I echo that all commissioners, thank you all for coming and staying for the duration. I'd like to thank Mr. Jordan and Mr. Owens for agreeing to serve as our chair and vice chair for the coming year. I look forward to the new year. Hopefully that we can continue to make progress and correct things that we maybe have not done as well. And hope you all have a nice holiday.
I'd like to thank everybody too, and it looks like I owe a special thanks to the three that I see out there on my side of the bridge. And thank you.
All right. Thank you, commissioners. We're going to need to go into closed session, and at this time we need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. All right. We can take another little 5 minutes. All right, we'll entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Second.
That's motion second to come out of closed session. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right, we have 3 items we need to address. The first one, we need a motion to authorize our county attorney to draft a letter to the grant administrator and make a telephone contact as discussed in the closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right, the second, we need a motion for the county manager and the chairman to meet with municipal engineering and discuss the property and other options as discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Third, we need a motion to adopt the pay scale presented by the county manager, excluding the position assignments.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right, that takes care of our business. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. And everybody have a Merry Christmas.
All right,
Oh,
thank
no,
you.
I can't. But we'll see you the 19th, I guess, with Mobley and all that.